What were the world's first roller coasters made of?
Sturdy stuff.
Sturdy stuff? No, weirdly not actually made of all that sturdy stuff.
Wood.
Wood, some wood, but not entirely made of wood. What else might you use?
Snow.
What is more slippy than snow?
Ice.
Ice, absolutely.
Well, the way, guys! I can feel it!
Literally like pleasing a Labrador. So the idea goes all the way back to 15th century Russia. So ice slides or flying mountains were built in several towns, including St. Petersburg. I mean, look, these are amazing. So some of them were 80 foot high. They were on wooden supports and then they were coated with water and they quickly froze to a sort of slick, icy surface. And then they used to use hollowed blocks of ice lined with straw as the car to go down. Catherine the Great actually had one specifically built for herself at the Orenbaum Palace on the Gulf of Finland, and everybody thought these were marvellous. They quickly caught on around the world. They became known as Russian mountains. In fact, in Spain, I think they still call them Montana Russa. They look like huge fun, do you not think?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, not for me.
No.
I'm scared, don't like the height.
But you're not alone. So the pioneering American roller coaster engineer, a man called Ron Toomer, he designed 93 of the world's roller coasters by the time he died in 2011. He didn't like going on them.
No.
No, he said the very thought of it made him queasy, and this is what he did for a living.
I get that because I don't really like my comedy.
Not as much as your mother disliked. No, but you're right to be afraid. So in June 1911, the owner of Boston's Derby Racer roller coaster, he stood up in one of the cars to give a speech about roller coaster safety and fell out. And he died. He died. I know. He died while giving a talk about be careful. Actually, this is one of my favourite stories. Does anybody remember Fabio? Do you remember Fabio?
Oh, yeah.
Sexy Fabio.
Sexy Fabio. There he is, Sexy Fabio. Yeah. He was often on the sort of cover of romance novels. Anyway, he went on a roller coaster. It was the inaugural ride of this roller coaster in Virginia. This was in 1999. Yes. And he killed a goose with his face.
Everyone thought it was hilarious. The girls behind it.
This is the thing.
Oh, Fabio, even when you do that, it's sexy.
Do geese like roller coasters?
No, the goose. No, it flew into his face.
It flew into his face. Here's the thing: is that we're not really sure whether the goose flew into the roller coaster and then hit Fabio.
It was like Fabio. Fabio. He's moving.
Anyway, he said afterwards, he said it was very dangerous to go on roller coasters. This was clearly not a freak accident, and it would happen again. As far as we know, it hasn't.
This is going to happen again. It's a ticking time.
But I reckon if a bird did fly in his face at that speed, you'd have had much more serious damage than that. It was probably pulling up, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I imagine it was right on the belly.
Yeah. If it was the soft behind of a goose, then perhaps that would happen.
You mean he was pursuing the goose?
He was pursuing. Yeah.
It just went up a loop and went right round.
How I wish you two had been the detectives on this case.
I'm coming for you! Hey, ladies, watch me get this goose with my nose. Watch it. This could happen again.
Which country can you drive from East Coast to West Coast on Route 66?
Oh, no. Come on.
We're not going down there.
Everybody's done the show before.
Say it.
Yes!
America!
America, yes! Yeah, you'd think, right?
Yeah, because it's the answer.
This is the wrong answer. OK, so we want to drive from coast to coast. There is only one country with a coast-to-coast Route 66. Any thoughts where it might be? Yes, Callie.
Armenia.
Armenia. Weirdly, is not a klaxon, because we hadn't thought of it.
Australia.
Australia, no.
France.
Closer to home.
Ireland.
First person. No, closer to home.
Scotland. England.
It's the UK. Yes, it is the UK, yeah.
What?
So the A66, which I'm sure you've all thought, let's take a driving holiday. It goes 115 miles coast to coast. It is from Middlesbrough in the east to Wackington in the west. It passes through, actually, lovely places, Darlington, Keswick, Cockermouth. Sounds weird, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. Coming out of your mouth.
Out of my
It sounds
mouth, yes.
weird.
Rolls off the tongue, of course. You know, the way in America people are always like, do you know what, let's give up our jobs and go on Route 66 and take a car and just discover ourselves. It doesn't feel like people would be going, like, from Darlington to Cockermouth.
Yeah. Finding remote jazz clubs. Counterculture. Experimenting with new drugs.
We've been to every Greg's along the A66.
It's not the same since they shut the little shed.
So the A66 in 2018 was named Motorway of the Year.
Oh. But it's an A road.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. So, why might it suddenly be named Motorway of the Year, the A66?
Was it transitioning? Did it identify as a motorway?
Yes, weirdly, yes.
Oh, that's it.
For one single mile, it identifies as a motorway.
That's it. That's all it takes.
It's A66 brackets M for a single mile, and apparently, in the great contest to be Motorway of the Year, that's enough.
Is it?
I know. The American Route 66, which we know about, it never ran coast to coast. Route 66 starts in Chicago, which is about 700 miles from the Atlantic, and then it travels through Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico and Arizona, all the way to Santa Monica in California.
I actually drove part of Route 66 with my children, and that is a lot of games of I Spy.
Yes.
I can tell you, it's a long road. But in Missouri, there's a fudge factory called Uranus. And they have, obviously, the usual welcome to Uranus, life's pretty sweet in Uranus. It's,
Oh, I need to go.
And then we got divorced a year later.
Yeah,
but it was a nice...
You and the children?
Me and the children.
They're still in Uranus.
There are some fabulous things to see on the way. There's a wonderful ghost town in Oatman, Arizona, where you can still see one of the former brothels. It's called Fast Fanny's. There it is. Here's the thing, Alan, that I discovered on the route that I think you would like, which is in Cartuza, Oklahoma. There was a guy whose wife collected miniatures of blue whales. He was a retired zookeeper called Hugh Davis, and for their wedding anniversary, he decided to make a blue whale that is 20 foot tall and 80 foot long.
Whoa.
Yeah.
For a wedding anniversary?
For a wedding anniversary present, yeah.
How disappointing.
I know. It took him nearly 3,000 hours to complete. Imagine the jobs he could have done around the house. Route 66, it was almost Route 62. It doesn't have the same... doesn't have the ring to it, does it?
You can't rhyme it with kicks, can you?
No.
You can rhyme it only with poo.
Yeah.
She called it Route 69. Although that would have gone from the top to the bottom and back again.
Happens when you have a bump on your head and you wake up with foreign language syndrome.
Okay.
You don't speak in foreign language, you speak in a foreign accent.
Clever.
Is correct.
Clever.
That's exactly right. You could just feel the trap door opening and closing.
Because if you could speak another language, and all I'd have done at school is just bash my head off the desk and go,
Yeah.
oh!
Yeah.
Bonjour.
No.
Ça va? Oui, ça va bien, merci. No, it's just you to speak in the accent.
Why do you do that face?
I don't know.
I'm imagining smoking a Gauloise cigarette as well.
That's very odd.
Ça va bien. Good. Merci beaucoup.
It's so weird how you turn into a cartoon. You're absolutely right. They simply have an impairment, a speech impairment. And the notion that they speak a foreign language, it's in the ear of the listener rather than in the mouth of the speaker. Sufferers have included George Michael. I don't know if you remember this. In 2012, he had pneumonia and he was briefly in a coma and he woke up with what sounded
You've got to have a faith. You've got to rock your body.
West Country.
Oh.
He had a West Country.
You've got to have faith.
A faith, you've got a faith,
Oh, a careless whisper, he did.
Yeah. This is a terrible story. There was a Norwegian woman called Astrid L, and she was hit in the head by shrapnel during World War II in an air raid, and it left her with a German accent. But it was a speech impairment, and it resulted in her being ostracised by other Norwegians because they thought that she had somehow been associating with the Germans.
I heard someone on This Morning went on. They'd had some organ transplant, and when they woke up, they were really into vacuuming.
Well, so this is not as weird as it sounds. The answer may be that some memory exists in cells where we didn't know they resided before.
Wow.
That you would pass on vacuuming is really annoying. Who would be the worst person to borrow a glove from?
O.J. Simpson?
The guy that gave me a strip search at Heathrow Airport, so wouldn't want to borrow a glove from him.
Did you do the whole... I don't know why I'm doing
really?
that. I imagine there's not that much movement in it.
Yeah. You're not changing a light bulb up there.
Yeah.
I was coming from a particular part of the world which is known as a source of narcotics, and I looked suspicious.
Was it Kensington?
And they gave me a strip search.
That's hard. That's awful.
Yeah.
What did they find?
2 kilos of cocaine, but that's not the point.
They found the world's longest...
They found nothing. I am innocent. I'm a good boy. I haven't broken the law for months.
A while. So I'm going to give you a clue. The worst person to borrow a glove from, he was Russian, he was romantic.
Oh.
His name begins with
Rasputin.
Oh, he's done it to us again!
That was a trick of the highest order, Sandy.
That's so much fun. Rachmaninoff. Sergei Rachmaninoff. He had huge hands. You should have keyboards.
Yeah.
So if you have a look at the keyboards, he could span 12 keys. So that is Rachmaninoff's hand that you have there. So put it up against your hand. He could span 12 notes. How many can you span with a single hand?
Oh, I got really smart.
I'm on 10.
You can do 10.
9, just about.
Just about 9.
Yeah.
And Sarah, what about you? Just using all 5 fingers?
15.
Yeah. So there is an argument that some of the virtuoso pieces on piano are inherently sexist because women simply can't manage.
Possible.
The thing about him that makes me so angry about the world, in a way, is that his very first symphony, he was so severely criticised by a man called César Cui that he didn't actually compose again for 4 years. It put him in such a depression.
Yeah, it's like my first Edinburgh.
Here's another kind of revolution. Why doesn't your house have revolving doors? Anarchy. Yes, my darling Giles.
My house does have a revolving door. It always has. It's a family house. It's a tradition.
Yes.
Because one of my forebears invented the revolving door.
I happen to know who invented the revolving door.
Theophilus
Van Cannel. Is that...
Who married the daughter of my great-great-great-grandfather, a man called Dr. Benjamin Brandreth, who invented Brandreth's pills, was a pioneer of medicine and advertising in 19th century America.
It's not so much a family tree as a family fucking forest.
You're related to Theophilus Van Cannel.
Of course he is.
Dr. Brandreth had 13 children, including 10 daughters.
Yeah.
And he was hugely wealthy, and he married them off very well. He also was a friend of P.T. Barnum, who was a friend of this man who invented the revolving door. So at home, the point is, we love it. It's been so useful recently. You know, when we want to self-isolate, we can have 3 of the family actually in the door.
Is the reason we don't have them on our homes because of too many terrible pet deaths?
No, it's just the house isn't big enough and we don't get that many visitors. They're very good in a tall building because what they do is they let much less air into the building and it avoids what's called the chimney effect. So what happens is cold air can be sucked in at the bottom when a door opens and warm air rises up through the building. And the use of a revolving door stops that. It's also more energy efficient. Weirdly, people tend to prefer to use a swing door when they can. They don't seem to like them.
I like to use revolving doors and pretend to be Wonder Woman. Because that's how she would change sometimes, and Superman did the same thing. And sometimes if you're feeling fancy when I'm in London, where there's more revolving doors available, I'll just go in a building and then come back out and pretend to be Wonder Woman. I'll just do it. What I have to do is it's because I carry a suitcase with me all the time and I trip over the suitcase. That's the problem. I've got a suitcase that's bigger than me and it makes revolving doors quite difficult. But you just have to do it because then people look at you like you can't do a door.
So why don't you get out of the suitcase?
Yeah.
Carry it through the door and then get back in.
Better.
Or get 2 little leg holes cut. How's that suitcase moving along the road?
Who is the woman associated with the French Revolution?
Madame Tussauds, because she took facial masks, didn't she? Death masks of the people.
It's an extraordinary story because she was the art teacher and indeed a waxworks modeller for the sister of Louis XVI. And so she was seen to be a royalist and her head was actually shaved in preparation for execution. And she was saved by a leading revolutionary who had been friendly with her before. And she was made to do the people's likenesses. And then she was asked to come to Britain to show them and was going to go back to France but had to stay because the Napoleonic Wars started and she wasn't able to return.
Who are these two?
So this is the King and Queen.
Those are actually the King and Queen of France.
It's Marie Antoinette and the King, yeah.
Or the waxworks of them.
Yes.
I used to work in Madame Tussauds.
Oh, this is marvellous. Somebody who can out-anecdote Giles. I like this.
I worked as a zombie because my acting career got off to a really quick start. And you had to learn how to put all different latex on stuff and make your makeup really awful to be jumping out at people in this scary maze. But you learnt to wax, which was to stand where tourists were walking past you and you'd stay completely still and then just move a bit and people would cack themselves. And I got told after my second stint there that I was the scariest woman they'd ever had.
Now, Giles, I thought when you said you have personal experience of this that you were going to mention
I am going to mention
family connection.
This, seriously, is how I became really interested in this subject of the guillotine and executions. Because my forebear, Jeremiah Brandreth, was a revolutionary and the last person to be beheaded in this country for treason.
I think we have a picture, actually, of Jeremiah.
There he is.
Part of the Pendrick martyrs.
1817. He was a revolutionary. He began as a Luddite. He realised that the Industrial Revolution was going to make people lose their jobs. He was determined to overthrow the government of the day. And anyway, he led this revolution up in Derbyshire. He was known as the Nottingham Captain and was arrested, put on trial, and was not just hanged, but he was then beheaded because he was a traitor.
Because they wanted to show the head. I mean, I think he was already dead by the time he was beheaded. Now, we were trying to see the family likeness in this, so we've done a little bit of photoshopping just to see how that would look. So there you are. Uncanny. I do think, darling, if you were ever beheaded, just as they lifted the head up, you'd be going, I've got one more story.
You know, the head can live on for another 15 seconds.
Let's play What's That Sign?
What's that sign?
OK, have a look at this first sign, and can you tell me what it is for?
Wobbly truck?
Wobbly trucks.
Is it toasters in use?
So they did a survey by Quick Fit. They surveyed 45,000 drivers. 26% could not identify this sign. 100% of you on the panel. Anybody in the audience, put your hand up if you think you know what this is. Yes, darling, with the beard.
Adverse camber?
It is adverse camber.
Oh,
wow. Wow, I bet you're fun. Oh, yes, that'll be adverse camber. Yeah, that will be.
That's his safe word.
Adverse camber!
Just like a town down in Dorset, doesn't it? Oh, she's living in adverse camber at the moment. Try this one. What does this one mean? Anybody?
No waiting. Does it mean no waiting, sir? No. No, what's it mean?
Is that the Swedish flag?
No, the Swedish flag is blue and yellow.
I don't want to be shamed for just guessing, Sandy.
Does anybody in the audience... Does literally nobody know what this is? Yes, a gentleman in the red shirt.
Clear way.
It is a clear way, absolutely
Same
right.
thing. Same thing.
Well, it means no... You can't even stop and...
Yes,
Yeah, that's what he said. No stopping.
No, you said no waiting.
He said no stopping.
No, but you can't wait. You can't even stop.
No, you can't!
I'm going to give you an extra point so that you don't have a seizure.
You know, Alan's the first person to get road rage sitting in a studio.
In the survey, 33% of people could not identify this sign. It is indeed a clear way. And the final one, let's have a look at this. Anybody know what this is?
Say it.
Yes.
Is that one don't take offence?
Don't take offence from the top of a barber's shop.
That is what it looks like. Anybody know what it identifies?
Is it to do with a level crossing?
It is to do with a level crossing. What do the bars below it mean?
I'm just trying to lip read the man in the audience who knows everything. His wife's having the best afternoon of her life. It must be nice to be out the house, is it? Yeah.
Hands up, anybody who knows what this one means.
I bet you whoever knows the next answer will have a white beard.
No stopping on the level crossing. No is not.
You need a sign for that?
Yes.
We'll leave it here, shall we? This seems like quite lucky to be parked so close to the station, actually. No, wait it!
There's a man over there.
Crossing in 200 yards.
Yeah, so it is. It's counting down the distance to the level crossing. Very well done.
Yeah. This round should have been christened the middle-aged white man round.
I know.
Because
That's
it's just been
extraordinary.
answered by
You're living in the middle-aged white man world, man.
Something that is so rude you can't say it on a BBC comedy show.
Hell.
Yes. Let's try this instead. Name something that you can say on a BBC comedy show now that you couldn't say in the 1950s.
We're post-watershed. We're allowed a...
Only if it's cleared. You have to write to whatever the gods of words of television are.
You have to write and get permission.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I'll start. Yeah. On the radio, they used to say there was a list of about 8 words they'd give you at BBC. You must have had this list.
Yeah.
And I started doing the radio back in the 90s. But the only thing we got in trouble for, really, was blasphemy.
Well, in the late 1940s, they issued something called the BBC Variety Programmes Policy Guide for Writers and Producers. It became known as the Green Book, and it was what was acceptable for broadcasting. There was an absolute ban on jokes regarding, and I'm quoting here, lavatories, effeminacy in men, immorality of any kind, and any suggestive references to honeymoon couples, chambermaids, and fig leaves.
That should cover it.
No. The vulgar use of the word basket must be avoided.
Oh, hello, missus. Can I see your basket, please? What, you got some melons in your basket?
Now you do it like that. Suggestive references to ladies' underwear, so things like winter drawers on, you couldn't say that. And it conceded that references to Noah was sometimes permissible, but it added, since there is seldom anything to be gained by them and since they can engender much resentment, they are best avoided altogether. You couldn't make jokes about solicitors, miners, or the working class. And in particular, you could not make any joke about a specific Irish family called the McGillicuddies of the Reeks.
I wonder who they are.
They're an ancient family, but apparently several jokes have been made about them and they took offence. And even now, we should not be amused by the McGillicuddies of the Reeks. Max Miller in 1944, he tells a story about meeting a rather attractive woman on a mountain pass. And it included the line, he didn't know whether to block her passage or toss himself off. And... But he got banned man for 5 years. 5 years.
Wow.
For the BBC for that particular
Oh, it was worth it, though.
I know. My favourite way to open a champagne bottle is with...
a sword.
A sword,
Oh, my God.
indeed.
Oh.
So I would like to introduce you to someone who can do just that.
Wow.
Please
No.
welcome Julian the Magnificent. Julian, am I right? You are a member of La Confrérie de Sabrador. Is that right? Have I said it correctly?
You have indeed, and I'm the Ambassador Emeritus.
Isn't that fantastic? So
Ambassador, you are spoiling it.
how did you come to be able to do this?
Well, I get a thirst around about 11 o'clock every morning.
Absolutely.
So I take out a bottle of champagne and one of my sabres, and I remove the top, and Bob's your uncle.
But if you're called Julian the Magnificent, it's a shame if you just end up working in a stationery shop or...
No, but you work in the wine trade, do you not?
I do indeed.
You work in Weatherspoons.
Only in closing time with that weapon.
Now, here's the
Still
thing.
staying honest.
I was told that for health and safety reasons we cannot actually do this on set. However, if you all agree, shall we just do it?
Yeah!
The reason there we were the night at the studio when Sandi Toksvig lost her hand.
Can I just be really clear? You're not going to extract the cork, you're actually going to...
I shall remove the glass annulus and the cork together.
OK, are you okay to stand this close?
No problem at all, because I'm going to be shooting it over there.
OK. All right. That is a gentleman! Yeah,
This is what a gentleman warns you.
You'll be fine, I'll shoot over there.
Do not try this at home.
Oh, my God.
You go ahead, yeah.
Off we go.
Yeah.
Look at that. Fair play. I mean, that's...
Don't touch the top, because that's sharp, obviously.
But you could drink that.
You could drink that perfectly, because no glass will go inside. As you quite rightly said earlier, the pressure is about 5 times, actually,
Oh,
of
it's
a lorry
5 times,
tyre.
OK.
And it will just shoot any glass away.
Right.
I mean, this is why you hire Julian the Magnificent.
And is there like an evening course you can go on to learn how to do it?
That's all.
Well, can I learn how to do it?
You can indeed.
OK.
It takes 3 seconds.
Let's do it. Let's give it a go.
Do you remember you were there the night, Alan Davis?
You are right-handed, Sandy.
I'm right-handed, yes.
You'll take that in your left hand.
In my left hand, yes.
With your thumb up the punt.
Thumb up the punt.
Punt, yes.
Not the first time.
There you are.
OK.
Champagne?
Oh, it's quite heavy. Yeah.
Right, now the art of sabrage.
Yeah.
You never take the blade off the glass.
No.
It's a shaving motion. You go straight up there and follow through. Don't stop.
Right.
And take the glass annulus and the cork with it.
With this sword and this...
But never take the blade off the glass.
OK.
The straighter you get it, the more...
Can you hold the bottle as well?
I'll do that for you. Why not?
OK.
Off we go.
That's terrifying.
Oh, my God.
Is powdered rhino horn used for in traditional Chinese medicine?
I'm going for it.
Yes.
Aphrodisiac.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's obviously what we're all thinking.
Yeah.
But I'm always thinking that with everything.
Oh, yeah.
That could be an aphrodisiac. Give that a go.
In official Chinese traditional medicine, rhino horn, or zijiao, has never been prescribed as a sexual stimulant. It's a myth, which the Western media seems happy to run with, and it's not true at all. Most often seems to be prescribed for fever. But there's a whole list of things that you might suggest.
I imagine the horn, if it wasn't powdered, I imagine the horn could be quite a sexual stimulant.
What, so you could just literally say, I've got the horn?
Yeah.
Is that where that comes from?
Here it is.
Got the horn. No.
In these socially distanced times, it might be better.
Yeah.
Oh.
Here's a rhino horn.
What are you doing there, Harry Potter? What are you doing? Conducting the proms?
I haven't got the point yet. The pointy end's pointing out. I want you and I'm...
Tempting a woman.
Yeah, I'm being tempted. It doesn't have to be a woman. Could be a rhino. But
I don't think a rhino
very
would be
alluring.
tempted by the disembodied horn of its friend.
That's Uncle Albus!
Come on! go, there's a rhino over there. They come over, and then they think, well, actually, now I'm here.
Have a look at all these diseases that, in traditional Chinese medicine, they reckon you can cure with some rhino horn, of which my favourite, I think, is the evil miasma of hill streams.
When you get it, it's...
yeah, that's very bad. Although rectal bleeding.
Well, you would get that with the rhino.
China isn't the only culture to attribute special properties to the rhino horn. So the Greeks believe that you could detect poisons if you drank because it would produce bubbles or by the horn changing colour. So there may be something in the poison detection thing because rhino horn is mostly made of keratin and it chemically reacts with strong alkaline solutions, which many poisons are.
But it's a nonsense, isn't it, the medicinal thing?
Yeah, I mean, they did a study in 1990 at the Hong Kong University and they used very large doses of rhino horn and again, rats, very slightly lowered fever in them. But not worth it, I think, to kill a rhino to get a rat to feel a tiny bit better.
The trade-off is not good. Pants off, it would be fine.
Call me an animal rights mad person. But I think that's
some cotton briefs on.
You'll be right as right.
But the reason that they come to a point is that the outer keratin is softened by the sun, and then it's worn away when they clash horns and rub and so on, and the solid core remains. And if their horns were hard all the way through, then it would have a cylindrical hall. It wouldn't be shaped in any way.
If they looked after it, they could have like a Coke can.
I know, it's a flat top. Yeah.
Let's back off, I'm growing this. I don't want one of those pointy ones. I want a stumpy one.
Well, there are some that have a different shape to it, because most of them tend to grow in that shape, and that's because the keratin in the front grows faster than the keratin in the back. But you do see the occasional rhino with a forward curving horn. And this one just looks depressed, doesn't it?
Which is always... Yeah, it's like he had a normal horn and then he went...
What Danish trick gets English pulses racing? This is a long time ago. So, who were the Danes that first came to the UK?
Invaders.
Vikings. Vikings. OK, so we're talking 11th century. And they seduced English women using the power of cleanliness.
No.
Yes.
Soap. They washed.
They washed.
The great washed met the great unwashed.
Yeah, so when they came and, you know, they invaded and established the Dane law, they tended to come without women. They married English women, and this upset the locals very much. But according to a monk called John of Wallingford, the Danes cheated by washing. This is a new idea. The Danes made themselves too acceptable to English women by their elegant manners and their care of their person. They combed their hair daily and took a bath every Saturday and even changed their clothes frequently, by which means they undermined the chastity of the wives, which is a totally different story to all the rape and pillage thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No. So there is a theory that all of that was written down by Englishmen who'd had their wives taken, that it was rape and pillage. And there is another theory that, in fact, they turned up unbelievably good-looking. They just rowed across the North Sea.
Had a bath and went on the pool.
Yeah. That guy, I mean, he could pull me. He's looking, don't you think?
I'd service a man, you know, if you're going, what's that stuff you use?
It's a little...
Stops me
that was a
smelling
very
like
little
me.
gesture. I would service the man. You would almost imperceptibly service the man.
Just a little bit under the arms, please. Come on, Jack. Sure alike.
But they did wash, and it was a sort of secret weapon. So there are some experts who suggest that we're not much better than the Vikings, really, in our washing habits. They did a study in 2018. It was the US Centre for Hygiene and Health in Boston, and they claimed that modern-day bathtubs, I don't know whether you guys are bathers or showerers, 100 times as much bacteria in a normal bath as in a rubbish bin. Apparently, they recommend if you are going to take a bath...
Do it in a rubbish bin.
Well, that, or shower before and after.
I've had a water meter fitted, so I just swim at canal.
What did you just say?
He's had a water
I've
meter
had a water
fitted,
meter fitted,
so now he just swims in the canal.
I'm from Guildford, so I'm stuck here.
Why might a bath be good for you, even if it's full of bacteria?
I think you get lighter in it and it takes stress off your joints, and it's almost like being in space, but for a shorter period.
It improves your circulation and it lowers your blood pressure, which is what you were trying to say, isn't it, Johnny?
No, I was trying to say it's like being in space, but thank you, Sandy.
What's rotund and makes a royal wretch?
Something sort of chubby or round that's a bit smelly and lives in Buckingham Palace?
No, so it is an actual place called a rotunda. I'm going to help you out here. It was in Leicester Square. It is, in fact, still in Leicester Square. Have anybody of you played the Leicester Square Theatre?
I have, yes.
OK, so this is right next door, and it's still there, and you probably wouldn't even know it. So it was a purpose-built building, enormous building, to display enormous paintings. So the largest paintings of all time, gargantuan panoramas. It was an artist called Robert Barker. He, in fact, coined the term panorama. There he is. And he began with a view of London, and he charged 3 shillings for you to come in, and he made an absolute fortune. And it was an amazing building. So it was perfectly round. It had a lower and an upper circle, so that you could do 2 panoramas exhibited at the same time, one above the other. The paintings were so large that you had to have a map in order to find your way around. It is now the French Catholic Church. You can't see it because they've put a brick front on it. So that's what it looks like now, and you might have just walked past it. It's between Leicester Square Theatre and the Prince Charles Cinema. But if you have a look from the air, so say you looked at Google Maps or something, look at the size of it. Isn't it fantastic? And if you look there, as you pull out there, that is Leicester Square. You can see where it's located, and it's become a sort of hidden treasure in London.
Change it to flats.
But you wouldn't know it was there, which is amazing. Anyway, just a few days before it opened, so we're talking about 1794, King George III and his wife, Queen Charlotte, they were given a private viewing of a naval scene. It was so realistic and so overwhelming that Queen Charlotte, after she stared out at the painted ocean, she became seasick.
I know how she feels, because I went to the IMAX to watch Gravity with Sandra Bullock.
Right.
And...
Is this a film, darling? Because that just sounds like a really boring thing to do.
It's a film.
You and Sandra Bullock watching Gravity.
Look, you can't tell me...
Wow!
Sandra! Sandra! Sandra!
I mean, you wouldn't need to go to the IMAX, surely.
Sandra! Sandra!
I rarely stand up for myself. You cannot tell me that the star of Miss Congeniality and Miss Congeniality 2, Armed and Fabulous, could not make me interested by doing that. But it was a film about space. It was just her. She was in her pants and vest. That's irrelevant to the story. She was in Gravity. She was there. I was right up close because I couldn't get seats because I was late in booking. It's huge. It's the size of this entire studio.
Wait, why couldn't you get seats? You know Sandra Bullock. I've not understood this story.
I'm there. I'm sitting. She's right in front of me. It was so realistic that I vomited on myself in the cinema because I felt like I was in space with Sandra Bullock, who's a real person who was not doing that. She was trying to escape.
For a ridiculous loser, what can we say about Mr. Irrelevant 1991? It's a sought-after title in some ways. Mr. Irrelevant.
Is there some sort of like a paradox? It's like being the most boring person. That's something interesting if you're the most boring person. So the second most boring person is more boring than the most boring person, which makes them the most boring person, which is something interesting about them.
I love that. I think that's fantastic. All I can say with confidence is that he was wanky. Which is his name, Mr. Wanky.
Mr. Wanky?
Yeah, Mr. Wanky.
Well, that's so relevant.
Yeah, so every year in US football, professional teams choose new players from that year's college leavers, so it's called the draft. And the last placed team from the previous year gets the first choice. The idea is to even out the team's prospects. And so it's not like you can just buy the top players. They try and keep it kind of level.
The opposite of the Premier League, really.
Yeah. So the player chosen last from the pool, so the least sought-after player in that year is called Mr. Irrelevant. And it's a rather dubious honour. It fell to Larry Wanky in 1991.
I was really hoping he had a better first name, but Larry Wanky
is not good, is it?
What would a better first name be?
Willie.
Barry.
Willie is better.
Willie Wanky. Wee Willie.
But they get a prize. They get flown out for Irrelevant Week with their family to California, and they have,
Introducing the Wankies. Let's have a warm round of applause for the Wankies as they join us.
But it's a thing in sport. The last place competitor in the Tour de France, for example, since 1920, been awarded the Lanterne Rouge. But there's so much publicity with being that person that people want to be it. When they know they're not going to win, and they know they're right at the back, they sometimes hide in barns and things.
When I've watched the London Marathon, there's so much attention on who wins it. But I am interested often as to who is the last person.
Yeah, like 5 days later. Yeah. And a man in an iron lung finally rolls over the finish line.
But there's loads of wonderful things that you get a salted anchovy if you're the loser of the Siena Palio horse race. And it used to be that you got a wooden spoon at Cambridge if you got the worst honours degree in the maths tripos.
No.
This is the last one ever awarded to the magnificently named Cuthbert Lempriere Holthouse.
Who then went on to become Prime Minister.
He became an Anglican vicar, which is like being in the Church of England.
And so what, he got the worst score on his degree?
He got the worst degree. In fact, they made the spoon out of a rowing oar because he blamed it on the fact that he spent so much time rowing.
It's amazing that they actually gave degrees to borrowers.
Well, also, nobody is going to ask a question about who came first in the maths tripos, right? It's just so lovely. I think it's much more interesting to talk about Cuthbert.
Yeah.
Would you like a bread roll?
Please.
Catch. Would you like one? Catch. Oh, I'm doing rather well, yeah.
Thanks, Mum.
OK. Hey, there we go.
Don't cut that. I'm better than that.
Bread and potatoes were rationed in Britain in the 1940s, of course, because of...
The war?
Not the war. What was it?
The Atkins?
Two big crises of the 40s, the Second World War and the Atkins.
It wasn't one, it was the other.
Yeah. No, bread and vegetables were never rationed during World War II. In fact, there were subsidies from the government in order to make sure that it was all kept on the table.
Were potatoes bigger or children smaller?
It does look like kind of the heads of something, doesn't it? No, it was to do with the weather. Soon after the war, there were very heavy rains and very bad frosts, so we're talking about 1946 and 1947, and then rationing of bread and potatoes came in. Then there was a bumper crop in 1948, and then after that, all the restrictions were gone. There's some wonderful stuff that they did do about food, though. Before the war, Britain imported about half its meat and more than half its cheese and about a third of its eggs. So they did a test in 1939 to see if Britain could deal without all of that protein. 8 human guinea pigs were sent for 3 months to live in the Lake District.
Oh, lovely.
I know. But they were put on a special diet. They were given as much wholemeal bread and potatoes as they could eat, and they were to spend their time walking and cycling and mountaineering and so on. And the result was, fundamentally, a huge increase in flatulence. And an awful lot of time was spent eating, because it takes an awful lot longer to get your calories from potatoes than to get through a steak. And I don't know who measured this, but it says here, thanks to all the extra fibre, there was also 250% more voluminous faecal matter amongst the participants.
Oh. See, that's what ruins the holiday.
Yeah.
They're shitting in jars.
Yeah. Have you been on that sort of holiday?
It's a writer's retreat.
Name an animal that will attack...
Dog.
I think extra point to Alan. I mean, he was fast, do you not think?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody, what do you think, audience? Extra point to Alan?
Yeah.
Ready? Name an animal...
Horse.
Name an animal that will attack anything red.
Bull.
Why do you think that?
Because I've seen clips of those dreadful matadors where they wave the red and then the bull...
Yeah, it's the movement, not the colour, that is...
Really?
Yes, darling, I know. They're not bothered by any particular colour. Just gets irritated by the cloth waving.
It would be a nightmare in a curtain shop, wouldn't it?
Yes.
And
I'm surprised that's not a saying, isn't it? Like a bull in a curtain.
The one animal which does see red in both senses is the tiny little robin. They are incredibly aggressive. 10% and huge. They're huge as well. 10% of robin deaths are due to fractured skulls from altercations with other robins.
Oh, I thought it was when they were stapled to Christmas cards.
Yeah. So there was some experiments done by a man called David Lack in 1943, and he showed that robin would attack a stuffed robin placed in its territory.
Good to know that he was helping with the war effort.
Maybe he was trying to train them up. A secret weapon.
But But the robin attacked and the head came off the stuffed robin and the robin carried on. And he began to wonder how little stuffed robin you would need in order to prompt this particular response. So he mounted various body parts on trees and so on. And he found as long as red feathers were present, the robin would attack. A headless, wingless, tailless, legless, bodiless bundle of red feathers was still a legitimate target as far as a robin was concerned. In fact, the robin would sometimes attack a tomato left on the bed.
I bet the Nazis were terrified, weren't they?
I know.
So robins can't look in mirrors then, clearly, because they'll just set themselves off.
It would set themselves off.
Come on then, now let's have a go.
Exactly that. And you'd think the red breast is something to attract. Before mating. It isn't that at all. It's a warning to stay away. So a robin's breast gets bigger and redder with each year. So the bigger and redder the breast, the more fights it's had. And you don't want to... It's like working with children.
You just said big and red and breast together and it'll set me off.
And bigger every year.
Bigger every year. Way around the pool. Look at that. Big red breast, way.
Do you think that robins come back to your garden year after year?
Yes.
Oh, yes, they love it.
No.
No, don't.
It's a different one?
Well, they don't last very long, so only 25% of newborns get through the very first year. Less than 1% make it to the age of 5. The lifespan's about 1.1 years for a robin, so they don't actually live...
I thought it was the same robins coming back to my garden. Fat robin and thin robin.
Yeah, no, not a thing, I'm afraid. Well, no, probably the robin you know is dead. I should have put that more gently.
And so's the other one.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Jesus.
Happy Christmas.
Jesus Christ. She was really quite harsh there. No, it's dead, Susan.
That's I was a terrible parent. From the height of ridiculousness to the ridiculousness of height. How will short people save the world?
Is it by going on a baking show and becoming a national treasure?
Ah, extra point.
There we go. We got it.
Eating less.
Yes, it is sort of...
Breathing less?
It is, yes, it's to do with all of those.
Breathing less, did you say?
Well, it's got to be better, basically, overall, because broadly speaking, a short person functions like a medium-height person or a tall person and takes less fuel and uses up less space.
That is exactly right.
They'll be the heroes of the moment with the stockpiling.
Yeah.
They're not going for the top shelves. They can't get there.
No, exactly.
If we all die out, it's my lot's fault.
Yeah. Are you very tall?
Yeah.
So there's a theory called reventropy, which is that humans ought to be shorter. There's a guy called Thomas Samaras. In 1994, he wrote a book called The Truth About Your Height, and he argued that people were getting taller because they had excessive protein in their diet, and this was leading to much greater consumption of everything. So you needed more land for farming, you get more waste, you get more pollution, and in order to preserve resources, really, you need to control the size of human beings, and that being shorter is good for you because it's... Look at that, that's me and Richard Osman. Being short is good for you, it slows ageing. Shorter people do have longer lifespans.
Really?
Yeah. So
you hit your head a lot less, though, probably.
That's true. I've never hit my head on a doorway, not once.
But you've probably caught the corner of a table a few times.
and the lid on a toilet.
Yes.
Macy, how tall are you?
5'11".
Do you have, like, strict rules about people you go out with or marry or whatever who is taller or shorter than you? Because my tall girl friends all refuse to go out with somebody who's shorter than me.
I think shorter men can be really, like, attractive, but I would just feel cumbersome, I reckon. My boyfriend is 6 foot.
And was that a deal breaker, as it were? You had to... You know...
I'd love to say no, but it absolutely was.
I like the shallowness of it.
I'm really shallow.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that.
Very tall, very shallow.
Yeah, I think that's marvellous.
I'm like a candle.
Yeah, yeah. There was another Lonely Voice campaigning against something the rest of us take for granted. There's a man called Roger Babson. He was an American stock market guru. He was the guy in the Q series that invented little hammers so that typists could wear mittens and work outside.
He what?
Yeah, he was obsessed with fresh air and he got his secretaries to work outside on typewriters and their hands were too cold, so he invented a series of little hammers so they could wear mittens while typing. Do you think that's crazy? His real passion was that he campaigned against gravity.
Oh, wow.
So he had a couple of very disturbing events. His sister and then later his grandson died from drowning, and he devoted his considerable fortune to fighting against the evil old man gravity, which he argued killed millions of people every year. And he paid 3 investigators to sit permanently in the US Patent Office, scanning incoming applications for anti-gravity inventions, anything, costumes, shields, whatever it might be, so that could be used to insulate people from gravity, because he hoped one day to eliminate airplane accidents.
There was drownings in his
Yeah.
and he blamed
gravity
not water.
No, he didn't have an anti-water thing.
Yeah.
In fact, he set up the
gravity that pulls you under, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not sure that the water's trying to help them.
If there was no gravity, you'd float. And also the water would be
If there
in
was
the air.
gravity, the water would be in the air. Can this fish do that a baby can't?
Stay underwater?
Yeah, swim underwater is absolutely true, yes. There used to be a myth that babies could do that, but that is not believed.
No, I learnt that out the hard way.
Yeah.
3 nieces was too many, anyway.
Yeah. No, fair enough.
Yeah.
Anybody know what kind of fish this is?
Stripy.
Stripy fish?
Cleaner fish.
It's a cleaner fish, yes, it is. It is. It's a cleaner wrasse.
Is it something to do with reflections? Because that is the topic.
Yes.
So
well done, Joe, for paying attention.
Can it recognise itself in a mirror because babies can't?
Correct. It's one of the very few animals, in fact, it's the very first fish to pass what's called the mirror test, to recognise its reflection of itself.
How do you test that?
Well, so what you do is you mark the animal in a place where it can only see the mark in a mirror. So, for example, the forehead would be a good place, and then see whether or not it observes it and whether or not it tries to scratch it to remove it.
We'll have a job, though, Sandy, won't it? Trying to scratch that off with no hands, what?
Except that cleaning off marks, Zoe, is what it does for a living.
For a living?
Yeah, they do actually have stations, and the clients, as it were, come to the station to be cleaned. They work for about 4 hours a day, and they clean about 2,000 clients. So it does seem like, when you're looking at them, as if it's a job, but that's what they do for a living. That's it inside the mouth of a Rankin cod. Look at that picture. I think it's so exciting.
There's got to be a lot of trust, hasn't there?
A lot of trust, except that all of the fish that are cleaned end up living longer, and they tend to be smarter because they don't have the parasites. I mean, there is a sort of a caveat with this. It's possible that what the wrasse is actually doing is signalling to the other wrasse in the mirror, if you see what I mean, that it ought to clean itself. It actually doesn't see that it's itself. It's going to the other wrasse. You've got a little something. You've got a little something here, so it may not be aware that it's a mirror image of itself.
When do babies start to recognise?
About the age of 2.
Right.
I really think it'd be sooner than that. My daughter, she knew the way to the city farm when she was 1.5.
Was she trying to get away?
She was.
There's actually very few species that pass the test. Great apes mostly do, but not gorillas. And what I love is that animals do exactly what humans do when they discover a mirror for the very first time. First of all, an animal would look behind it to see if there's an animal behind it, and then they'll do funny movements, like we do in the fun fair, to see what it is. And then they will indulge in the same behaviour as an office worker left alone with a photocopier. Well, see parts of their body they've not been able to look at before. I know, yeah.
It's a miracle we don't have more mirrored seating, really, isn't it?
No, I don't think it is, really.
Some people like a mirrored chair.
That would...
You'd get some very odd selfies then, wouldn't you? That for a dick pic.
Could you get a mirrored internal bowl of a toilet? Because that would be like a funfair mirror for your undercarriage, wouldn't it? Because that would have a curve to it.
You could definitely have a mirrored urinal. I can't see why you couldn't have that.
Yeah.
Because
Sort of
honestly...
shooting at yourself.
What is wrong with men?
We've just got a sense of fun.
A sense of fun, darling? You've actually got an aiming device that doesn't seem to work.
Oh, no, mine does. Mine does, because there's in one pub in London that I went to, there's like a game, and it's got sensors in the urinal, and I got the top score on the thing, and it asks you to put your name in, but I didn't want to put my name in, so I put Adrian Chiles. There's a pub in central London where Adrian Chiles has got a real reputation.
Now, for a question on recycling material. Alan, what's the point of all this blue whale shit?
What, you can use it?
It is vital to the planet.
Is it?
Well, it's unbelievably important for the entire ocean. So they don't defecate at depth, because you wouldn't really, would you? You'd hang on, wouldn't you?
Get to the surface and do it.
Until you
Do
get
they
to the
do
top.
the long, really long, stringy ones like a goldfish?
40 miles.
Well, this is actually whale poo right here. This is what it looks like. Who has taken that photograph? I do not.
Well, the whale,
do
I
not-
presume, and then
imagine.
Instagrammed it. Just
if
out
you-
of shit. Well, people do that, don't they?
Really?
A friend of mine told me Bridget does it.
If you were a dietitian, you'd want a more solid stool. If I do 2 days on cider, that's what I do. But if I stick to me 5 a day...
What cider?
It's a bit more compacted, is that
Yes.
what you're saying? Okay.
What ciders? That's what you take from that sentence. What cider?
Whales need to conserve oxygen, so they shut down lots of processes when they are down at depth, and that includes digestion. And when they get to the surface, they release what can only be described as a fecal plume of buoyant excrement, but it is incredibly nutrient-rich. It's absolutely full of iron. It's a concentration 10 million times higher than the surrounding water, and this acts as fertilizer of phytoplankton, which photosynthesizes, and in doing so, it absorbs enormous amounts of CO2, and it produces between 0.5% and 90% of the Earth's oxygen. So most of the oxygen that we are breathing is made by plankton, and the plankton need whale poo.
Have we got enough blue whales?
We don't have enough blue whales. The IMF has actually put a figure on them, and one of the reasons that it's not just the poo, that they accumulate carbon in their bodies, and when they die, they sink down to the bottom of the ocean, and they take up to 33 tons of stored carbon with them. So that's the equivalent of 600 trees photosynthesizing for an entire decade, and that's locked up in the corpse on the ocean bed for hundreds of years. So the IMF did this thing. They had a look at how much are they worth to us, and each whale is worth about $2 million American dollars. So the current stock of whales is valued at $1 trillion US. But it's just so interesting how it works within the ecosystem.
Also, as they sink to the bottom, they feed almost everything that's in the ocean.
Is there not an argument then to like dispose of human bodies like that?
What, just chuck them in the sea?
Take everyone who's died out to Mariana Trench and just sink them, let them be eaten by all the, whatevers.
Right.
And then all the CO2, we just do all that.
Yeah, I don't know how we would sell this in the funeral parlour on the corner of the high street as a plan.
Oh, I'm up for it.
OK. Fingers on buzzers, please. How do car thieves start cars?
Happy, please.
Hot wire.
Hot wire. Almost impossible to hotwire a modern car. Did you know that?
Listen.
Yes, Lou.
It's something to do with the wing mirror, and something in the wing mirror then triggers something else. Look it up. In certain cars... I can't go into it for legal reasons.
No, well, what it is, since the mid-90s, there have been all sorts of precautions. So there's a little chip in the key.
I love chips.
If the car doesn't detect the chip, then the key isn't there, and then it won't start. But there's all sorts of newfangled technology, and you can now use things like scanners to clone radio signals from the keys, and you can, in fact, do it from outside somebody's house. So you could be outside the house with your scanner, and the keys are in the house, and they're all fast asleep, and you can still start the car. Basically, keep your car keys as far away from your front door as possible, or in a biscuit tin.
Oh, yeah, because thieves do not like biscuits.
First car theft ever was committed by a woman. Did you know this?
I love that.
Yes. So her name was Bertha Benz. So married to...
Oh, not the Benz of...
The Benz of Mercedes-Benz.
Mr. Benz.
Carl Benz. He'd invented the very first practical automobile, and she thought he wasn't doing his best to sell it, so she decided that she was going to take it on the very first long-distance journey. It was the 5th of August, 1888, and she took his car and she drove 90 kilometres from Mannheim to Pforzheim with her 2 teenage sons, because she thought, whilst doing this, she might as well visit her mother. What I love this about her, at one point she stopped at a cobbler's and asked him to put some leather pieces hammer them onto the brakes so that the brakes wouldn't wear out, and in doing so she invented the modern brake pad. So she's marvellous, isn't she? She was both a thief and an inventor.
Yeah.
Bet she couldn't park it, though.
Do you know what? It's such a pleasure to see somebody doing so well on their last time on the... our final question. We're going to play a game of Beer Hunter. OK, so I have 4 cans. OK, so...
I don't like the look of this. That's Mark's.
OK.
OK.
OK, so here's one for you, here's one for you. Let's have that, Phil, and then you have that one. There we go, Phil.
Thank you.
OK, let's have a go at opening them. Sarah, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm going to do some tapping first.
Do some tapping? Do you think that's going to help?
Well, this is an Essex trick.
OK, open yours,
You want to open mine?
Yes, please, yeah.
Go.
Wow.
OK,
Fizzy.
so not that one. Alan?
Will it?
Oh. OK, not that one. Mark?
Well, the more this game goes on, the worse feeling I have about it.
No, OK.
Phyllis?
Wow. Phil? Is which of those cans had the highest pressure?
Oh, they all have the same pressure.
They're all equal, right?
Yeah. So the pressure is constant. It's about 3 atmospheres, no matter how much you shake it. An unshaken can has a small amount of gas that sort of floats on top of the liquid, but when you shake it, it all gets mixed together. And then what happens is you've got bubbles floating inside the drink, and when you open the can, they rush back to the surface.
Fizzy water's the worst one.
Yeah, it can bring and then brings all the liquid up.
Oh, my God! Open it, close it again! A little bit, close it!
But you
can't even tell, you can see it. Is it going to do it? I don't know. It's doing it! It's still doing it!
All my first jobs after McDonald's were in bars, and the one thing that you'd learn from like barbecues was that if you've poured someone a drink and it's fizzy, put your finger in it, and you can't do that when you work in a bar.
No.
Like, people think it's really rude.
But it does work.
But
Put their finger in it.
But you were tapping the top and the bottom of the can. What do you think that is going to do?
Well, it was just what we were told to do to make sure, you know, like if it'd been like in the back of the car, in the boot for a bit, if you did that for a few taps, then it wouldn't fizz.
Well, so here's the thing: tapping it top and bottom makes no difference whatsoever because the gas is already exactly where you want
doing
it.
it now.
What you need to do is tap the sides.
What?
Yes, you need to tap the sides and dislodge the bubbles so that they rise to the top.
Sandi, you're changing my life. I'm nearly 40 years old. I've just learned how to actually do this.
Yeah, so tap the sides, and then when you open the drink, the CO2 will rush out without displacing any liquid.
This is useful drinking information.
That's what we have the BBC for.
I know, right? Now, I want you to imagine it's Christmas Eve, and you're looking for a very quick present. What beats 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves and a partridge in a pear tree? Yes! Chris?
I'm going to take one for the team and say 5 gold rings. To be honest, I'd rather that than just have it building up inside me for the rest of the show.
No. So I'm going to give you a clue. Those were all birds, and we're looking for the next bird on the list.
6 geese are laying.
6 geese are laying is absolutely right. It beats all the birds on our list in one respect. The goose
can fly further.
It can fly faster. Actually, to be more specific, it's a spur wing goose. There it is, a beautiful thing. More importantly, what impact has this question had on the world?
Has it brought down more aeroplanes than any other bird?
Wow, that's horrible. No, it's not that.
Is it responsible for the shape of wings on planes?
Oh.
I don't mean it designs them, but like...
The geese are doing the wings.
Yeah.
I've got lots of good ideas. Listen up, they can fly.
So, the book Guinness World Records, which used to be known as the Guinness Book of Records, started with an argument about the speed of game...
Wait, so now it's called the book, the Guinness...
It's now called Guinness World Records, and it used to be called the Guinness Book of Records.
So, but it's called the Book of the Guinness World Records.
OK, the book is now entitled Guinness World Records, but doesn't have the word book in it.
Guinness Book of Records.
Yeah.
Guinness Book of Records.
The Book of Guinness Records.
Guinness World Records.
This is like STIs, STDs all over again.
Yeah.
Is the book sponsored by Guinness?
So it was originally put forward by the MD of Guinness Brewery. So it all started in a competition to decide who knew the fastest game bird, OK?
And they were having a pint of Guinness and they thought...
No, they were out hunting game birds. So there's a guy called Sir Hugh Campbell Beaver, and he was on a grouse... I know, it's very pleasing. It's a story of a man
that
called
many
Beaver.
names, that's just greed.
I know.
Also, people already call him Hugh Beaver.
Hugh Beaver.
Sir Beaver.
Huge Beaver, that's what they call him. Huge, hairy Campbell Beaver. That's what they call him behind his back. Here he comes, huge Beaver.
The Beaver Book of Records sounds much better.
That is better.
The Book of Beaver Records.
The Guinness Book of Beavers.
The Book of Huge Beavers.
Yes, World Beaver.
What's the fastest beaver, Huge?
Beaver, as I like to call him, was on a grouse shoot in 1954, and he got into a row with a friend about what was the fastest European game bird. Very pleasingly, they had this discussion in a place in Ireland called North Slob.
That's me.
Anyway, so Beaver, who was the MD of Guinness Breweries, claimed it was the golden plover, and his friend said it was the grouse. And so they decided that there was a gap in the market for a book like this, and they commissioned Norris and Ross McWhirter to write this book.
Are they twins? Or were they just
They were
dressed
twins.
exactly the same?
They were twins.
They were on Record Breakers, weren't they?
One
Yes,
of them
darling.
was.
Yes, with
Yeah.
Roy Castle.
Yeah. Who do you think won? The one who thought it was the grouse and the one who thought it was the plover?
Well, it turns out it was a goose.
Exactly. The grouse is faster than the plover, but the spur-wing goose is faster than either one of those. Here's...
Well, it all depends where the wind's blowing, doesn't it, for a bird?
Yeah, I think...
I've seen birds sometimes where they're really not in control of what they're doing, and they're just trying to style it out.
Yeah,
They take off in a high wind, and they're filled with regret, and they can't go back to the nest, and they're just trying to style it out, but they're being buffeted around.
And then they come in with feet like that.
Yeah.
You know, that
You see a duck landing on a pond in a high wind, that's hilarious.
Yeah, that
Some
is-
birds, little birds, can go at terrific speed through a bush and then just come to a standstill on a twig, defying all the laws of physics, whereas a duck basically needs the English Channel just to come to a stop.
So the spur-wing goose is the fastest game bird in the world. What's the problem with this?
Game birds.
Yes, it's not really a game bird, so it's only found in sub-Saharan Africa. It also eats something called blister beetles, which makes the flesh entirely toxic, so you die if you ate a spur-wing goose, and it's not really a goose. Other than that, I think it's a perfect world record holder. So, to kick us off, what kind of music did they listen to in the Stone Age?
Oh.
Come on.
Rock. It was rock music.
It was rock music.
What?
Is correct.
Rock music like the Rolling Stones?
Yeah. It was going so well, and then you just opened the trap door right like that. Yes, singing rocks used for music have been found all over the world. So if you go to Serengeti in Tanzania, there are stone gongs in Tanzania. There's one.
Stone gong?
Yeah, well, you can actually see the impression of where they've been struck. There are dolerite boulders, so an igneous rock with percussive marks in southern India. There's a cave in France, Fuamir. It's all over the world.
But how do they resonate?
Well, it depends on the rock and the type of rock.
Yeah.
It's called a lithophone. It's from the Greek lithos for rock.
Lithos,
Yeah.
right.
So this is a Victorian group that you very pleasingly were called the Till Family Rock Band.
that
story.
sounds fun.
Isn't that fantastic?
And those are all rocks that they've laid out like a sort of glockenspiel.
Yes, exactly, darling. They're rocks from the Lake District. Indeed, the entire family is from the Lake District. The rocks are from Skiddaw. And it makes a most fantastic sound, and it is a huge pleasure to play. Have anybody here ever played a rock instrument of any kind?
I have played a rock, yes. Hit upon a stone that was designed to be struck, and it was extraordinary.
It makes a most beautiful noise.
Yeah.
So they have some in the British Museum. You're not really supposed to play them, but we have some security footage from the museum, which we're going to play you now.
It's kind of jazz rock.
I would say if I was reviewing that album, I would say, as expected, slightly disappointed.
Yes.
Wow. I thought it was very musical. I've got a 4-year-old cousin who can do the same kind
There
of
you go. They're probably similar height, actually. Well, what was extraordinary was... I mean, I'm not musical in the slightest, but depending on where you hit it...
Didn't show.
Thank you, darling. I think Alan might win. Depending on where you hit it, it made a completely different sound.
Yeah.
Which you get stalagmites that have clearly been used as instruments, and they were struck 20,000 years ago. In fact, there is a new theory that Stonehenge may have been an ancient concert arena. So the inner circle of stones, they're called blue stones. They take on a sort of bluey tinge when they're broken or they're wet. And some of the blue stones have it's a microscopic structure in them, and it makes them sound like a metallic gong. They came from the Preseli Hills in West Wales, a place called Caermyn, which means butter rock. And they've tested the rocks in the area, and a huge number of them sort of ring out when they are struck, and it may explain why they went to such an effort to take the rocks all that distance to Stonehenge, that in fact they were making music. What do you think the term rock and roll originally referred to?
Some sort of body movement?
Yes, where?
In something that you're rolling.
Well, where might you have that kind of...
In a barrel. In a barrel.
In a,
put in a barrel.
Put in a barrel. It's the movement of a ship.
In a boat, yeah.
Yeah, it's a 17th century phrase, rocking and rolling, to describe the movement of a ship on the ocean. And then in the early 20th century, you get it to be to do with dancing, to get spiritual fervour, and a euphemism for, you know...
What's that? It's a euphemism for...
Well, I was doing a hand euphemism there.
Oh, yes. The jellyfish claps around the bucket.
Yeah.
Two crabs colliding.
Yeah. OK, sex.
Oh!
I don't know why I was shy suddenly. I don't know what that's about. But the phrase, in terms of it being used for music, it was a Cleveland radio DJ known as Alan Freed, and he used rock and roll for the very first time in 1951 to describe what we now know as rock and roll music. Now, there's nothing ruder than someone with bad timekeeping, but who is always a little bit late?
Well, is it to do with astrology? Because are we not all actually... born under the star sign we think we are?
Yes, that is the case, but that is not what we're talking about. It's a small amount of lateness. Weirdly, the stars are sort of connected to it. It's very important because of the interconnectivity of the planet, that we all run on the same time.
Is it Greenwich Mean Time? Is the clock or something, I don't know, just behind?
No, it isn't Greenwich.
Oh, that was a lovely guess.
It's a nice guess. It's a very nice guess.
There's an atomic clock. Is it in Switzerland?
It is to do with the atomic clock. You are absolutely right. You get an extra point. There are 50 or more national labs around the world which all run on atomic clocks. So what they do is they measure the vibration of cesium atoms, OK? So 1 second is defined as the time it takes for a cesium atom to vibrate 9,192,631,770 times. That's that number of times per second, OK, for it to vibrate. And then each clock around the world sends all of its data to Paris, to the International Bureau of Weights and Measurements, and they collate it. So this process is called Coordinated Universal Time, and it is used throughout the world, except in one country.
The Rush.
North Korea.
Oh, it's not Denmark.
It is Denmark. It is absolutely... It is Denmark. I think an extra 10 points there.
They don't play ball with time.
Didn't bother. We didn't bother. We never updated our laws. I don't know, we were busy. There was a herring season. I have no idea. We just used something called mean solar time. But because the Danes have failed to play ball, we are pretty much a quarter of a second late to every meeting.
Certainly explains the fashion.
Have you been to Denmark?
I have, yeah, loads. I love it.
Yeah, you won't be welcome now. You know that, right?
It's all right. I just say I know you. Passport? Nah, Sandy sent me. Oh, that is OK. Please come in.
You are a quarter of a second early.
So it's called Coordinated Universal Time, but the acronym is UTC. Why do you think that might be?
Because isn't that milk?
Yeah. No, is that... No, that's... UHT. Thank you very much.
UHT, sorry. Yeah, I knew it was something.
And then there's PMT. Do not buy that milk. So UTC, it's called. So in French, it would be Temps Universel Coordonné, so TUC, and apparently nobody could agree, so UTC was just a compromise. It doesn't actually mean anything. Why do you think we have 60 seconds and 60 minutes?
Is it... I don't know. Birds?
Birds!
Another lovely guess from John, isn't he great? Birds! he says, Sandy.
You know when your 3-year-old says something and they're trying to be clever and you want to go, that, yes, no, that's...
It is birds, John.
Yes,
60 birds.
I'm coming off that sugar high right now.
Sandy is a bird.
I always thought it was just mathematics.
Yes, but why? So why 60?
Because of all the factors in 60.
Yeah, so 60 is a fantastically useful number because it can be divided by 12 other numbers to make fractions easy. And you can go back 4,000 years to the ancient Babylonians, who are probably the ones that came up with the idea of the 60 minutes.
They just got it from the birds, though, didn't they?
They just got it. Fundamentally, the birds... Now, before we start, I happen to know that one of you encountered a lot of radioactive material when you were a child. Do you know who it was?
Morning.
Yes, Josh.
It was me.
It was you. You were
What a start!
positively glowing. Why is that?
Because I was bitten by a radioactive spider. No, I grew up on Dartmoor, and there was radon.
Yes.
So we used to have these radon detectors.
Yep.
That I had one in my room that was like a kind of plastic yellow thing that would kind of sit on a shelf and would tell you if there was radon.
Do you really believe that? It sounds like some toy your children...
I'm now starting to question whether my parents just...
mucking about.
Yeah, were taking the piss, yeah.
No, but you're right. Especially the middle of Dartmoor is the worst place in the country for radon.
Is that why he's so small? You know that radiation causes mutations.
Yes, the largest source of radiation that the UK public gets comes in the form of gases radon and thoron, and being in the middle of Dartmoor, that's absolutely the worst place. Now, you two are the Birmingham team. You both grew up in Birmingham. It's actually an island of low radiation. It's very low risk, a bit like Essex.
Should we be proud of that?
Yes. I love Birmingham. I think Birmingham's fab, yeah.
Yeah, I do as well.
I love the canal. I think the canal's fantastic. No? Really?
We used to go on canal holidays to
Birmingham?
To Birmingham.
God, he is mutated.
You live in the most beautiful county in England and you go to Birmingham on your holiday.
It was a real refreshing change, actually, to see people. But my dad would say the great thing about Birmingham for canal holidays, it's got more miles of canal than Venice.
That's true, it
Which
has.
implies he'd considered Venice.
Josh, do you know why residents in Devon and Cornwall are exposed to quite as much radiation as they are?
No, I don't.
It's the ground rock. It's largely granite.
Granite.
So the granite contains small amounts of uranium that decays and that produces radon. And you can be exposed to as much as 7 millisieverts of radiation per year. So that's the same as having a CT scan. It's the same as taking 85 transatlantic flights. It is weirdly the same as eating 70 kilos of what, do you think?
Granite.
Brazil nuts.
Oh, I eat so many Brazil nuts.
They contain quite a lot of radon because they have very deep roots which can get right down into the soil that's high in radium.
What's an unsafe amount of Brazil nuts?
I mean, I think anything under 70 kilos, you're probably going to be okay. Back in the day, what was the problem with watching snooker in the mirror?
It was in black and white.
Well, that is in a way correct.
Because you know, in football, they used to have a rule that if it was an international game, you couldn't have teams, even if they were in red and blue shirts, one of them had to change, because in many of the developing countries, they hadn't yet got colour television and they wanted to expand football around the world, and if you're watching in black and white, you couldn't tell the difference between one team and another.
So television sets in the early days were monochrome, and so were the earliest mirrors. The reflections that they gave were effectively monochrome.
What?
Yes, because strong, bright colours were sort of dimly distinguishable, but subtle colour distinctions were really difficult, so a game of snooker watched in an early mirror would have been practically impossible.
Sorry, the mirror...
Whoa there!
The mirror made things black and white.
So the earliest mirrors are made of volcanic glass. It's something called obsidian. Have a look in this, Stelling, and you will see. So you have to imagine this is before the invention of being able to put silver on glass.
Before the invention of snooker, surely.
I'm trying to explain that the way snooker was viewed on television...
on obsidian?
...would have been a bit like looking in an early mirror.
OK.
So here you are. This is a piece of volcanic glass. It's naturally occurring. And that's a piece of obsidian glass up there. And you can see some bright colours, you can see some shapes dimly, but you are not able to distinguish subtlety of colour in any way.
That's the sort of mirror I want in my house. That's what you look at before you go out and go, I look cracking. I look like a shadow.
Yeah. So this is the sort of early stuff, and it's made when...
Lovely, isn't it?
It's beautiful, isn't it? John Dee, who was the astrologer to Elizabeth I, and his assistant, Edward Keeley, used to use one for scrying. This, in fact, is his piece of glass that he used for scrying. Does anybody know what scrying is?
When you look at it and you're telling the future, so you'd scry with a crystal ball,
exactly,
or you'd scry with a goblet with some water in it.
It's a form of divination. They called it a showstone. The process for actually silvering mirrors the way that we know them today was not invented until 1835. So before then, if you put hot metal on glass, it just basically broke. And that means that most people before mid-19th century had very little idea what they looked like.
What a relief.
I know. What are these people doing?
Moving a massive nipple tassel.
Yes. So what's this? Tippecanoe?
Tippecanoe procession. Does anybody know anything about Tippecanoe?
No.
This is to do with an American presidential election. So it's called a presidential campaign ball. So in 1840, William Henry Harrison ran for US president against the incumbent President Martin Van Buren. And his whole campaign centred around victory balls. So huge spheres. They were made of tin and of leather. They were more than 10 feet in diameter. And they had pro-Harrison and anti-Van Buren slogans written on them. And his supporters would go to a rally and then they would roll the ball all the way to the next town in order to gain attention. The word OK comes from this election. So Martin Van Buren came from Old Kinderhook, and OK comes from things will be as good as they were in Old Kinderhook, which is where he came from in New York. So this is the beginning of us using that expression, that things are OK. It's an extraordinary campaign because it spawned the phrase, keep the ball rolling. That's where we get from. But Tippecanoe was Harrison's nickname. So he was the leader of the US forces in the Battle of Tippecanoe. And the campaign was a huge success. Harrison was elected president. First election in American history. There they are. In which a candidate won more than a million popular votes. Unfortunately, he died a month after becoming president.
Run over by a giant ball, wasn't he?
Yeah. And then the really weird thing, 1888, his grandson, Benjamin, was elected president with exactly the same strategy. So here is the actual ball. And you can see how big it was. It was steel-ribbed and canvas-covered, this one, and they rolled it around 5,000 miles from Maryland to Indiana.
By hand? Or
Yes,
did they have not even like a horse-drawn
No,
thing?
supporters would roll the ball along.
God.
Wow.
No, it is astonishing. Yeah.
That's the bloke in charge of it, isn't it? He's not happy about it, is he? No.
Just found out the route.
You're going downhill for 1,000 miles.
Yes. There have been some truly terrible American presidential slogans. This is Ulysses S. Grant in 1872. Alfred M. Landon against Franklin Roosevelt in 1936. Nice. Yeah. Nice. Thomas Dewey versus Franklin Roosevelt, 1944.
That's pretty good, to be fair.
This is my favourite, Richard Nixon, 1972. Like now, I'm going to make you write like Leonardo da Vinci. How do you think I am going to do that?
Did he...
Teach us
Did
Italian.
he write reflectively?
He wrote what's called mirror writing. So we are going to see if we can do this without thinking about it. Underneath the table, you will feel a piece of paper, and you should have a pen. Take the pen.
Yeah.
And I want you to write your names on the piece of paper as it is under the desk. So write your first name on the piece of paper. This looks so weird. I've already got... OK, so, done. OK, let's take them out and have a look. Let's start with Zoe. Let's have a look at yours.
Oh, that's pretty good for me.
OK. OK, but what is the thing about it that's interesting is it's back to front.
Some of it is.
Well, it's...
But some of it isn't.
The O's not.
Yeah.
The O is exactly...
Well, how about you, Alan? Same for you? Oh, wow. Are you left-handed, Alan?
Nope.
That is...
I'm just a fucking genius.
What have you done? Oh, yes.
I've done mirror.
You've done mirror writing.
Yeah.
And what about you, Joe? Wow, the boys...
I am left-handed, though.
You are left-handed.
Does that affect it?
Yes, I think it does. The brain is wired slightly differently.
Better?
It's an unusual demand, so it confuses our brain, so it's not unusual to do it as mirror writing. It's common in children who are learning to write.
I've gone half and half, then. What does that... Because that one's back to front, but that one's the right way around.
You're right to be disappointed. That's shit.
It is a bit...
3 letters.
Which is...
One of them's the same either way.
So what's all this got to do with Leonardo da Vinci? Well, he wrote his personal notes in mirror writing, and nobody really knows why. Possibly for privacy. That is a possible thing. Maybe just to amuse himself. But he was left-handed. And my son is left-handed, and I asked him, and he said it's possible. He was just more comfortable. When the pen goes away from the body, as it does for a right-handed person when you're writing, it just feels better.
Well, no, also, I found when I was at school, particularly when you're using a fountain pen, that you smudge it as you go over it.
Yeah.
So that's... He was smart, wasn't he, Leonardo?
Yeah, well,
I think we haven't given him enough credit.
We have a generally poor memory for the configuration of objects, so we're going to do a couple of quick tests to demonstrate. So, the audience, let's start with you. You've all seen the Statue of Liberty, I am sure. You've seen a picture of it 1,000 times. I want you to vote whether the statue holds the torch in the right or the left hand.
Oh, God.
So, hands up for right, and hands up for left. Well, I think left pretty much had the edge there, and the answer is it's in the right hand. OK, let's try the panel. So we see fonts all the time now, that's the thing. Which of the 4 lowercase g's written on the screen is correct?
Number 1.
3.
1, 3, any more?
1 and 2. 1 and 2.
Well, let's have the audience vote for number 1. Hardly anybody. Number 2. Quite a lot. Number 3. Even more. Number 4.
Oh, 2.
Well, so none of us can really remember. The answer is number 2. Number 2 is the correct one, yeah. But these are things we see all the time, and we have an inability to correctly recall the configuration of things. What did the man who invented radio really want to hear?
Well, since it's a man, probably his own voice.
Do you know...
I like men.
Me too, darling.
Anybody know who that is?
Marconi.
It is Guglielmo Marconi, the inventor of radio. Well, certainly one of the great pioneers of radio. He formulated a theory that sound never died, it just got weaker and weaker. And towards the end of his life, one of the things he wanted to discover was the right apparatus to be able to detect all sounds ever made. He hoped one day to invent some kind of apparatus sensitive enough to hear Jesus delivering his Sermon on the Mount. That's Jesus there, in case there's any doubt.
It was this big.
Yeah. So, would he be right? Is it possible to detect sound from the past? Is it?
No.
No, why not?
Because sound travels forward.
To where? Where's it gone?
To the future.
OK. What did you do before you were a comedian?
I was a science teacher. My students have done really well. They've all graduated from Feltham Institute for Young Offenders.
So here's the thing about sound waves. They're gradually absorbed by air molecules, until they're no longer audible. They're just absorbed. But he is astonishing, Marconi. He got his first wireless patent when he was just 22. He had no formal education in science. I love this. He was aided by a series of tutors and manservants. I know. I suspect his valet came up with it. That's my... in fact, his very first transatlantic message depended on a device called a coherer. It seems to have been based on an unpatented design by an Indian physicist called Jagadish Chandra Bose, who had been demonstrating wireless telegraphy 2 years before Marconi managed it. He's from Bengal, and he wasn't allowed to work in a lab on the grounds of his race, so he had to build a makeshift lab at home.
So did Marconi steal his idea by listening into the past when he first said it?
What I love is the detail that you've grasped in this entire... They were both at the Sermon on the Mount. The very first transatlantic transmission, so it was from Cornwall to... Can you remember if it was Newfoundland? We did this. Newfoundland or Newfoundland?
Newfoundland.
It is Newfoundland, isn't it? Newfoundland. The very first transatlantic transmission, Cornwall to Newfoundland, people thought it was impossible.
It's Cornwall.
Hmm? Why did people think it was impossible to go...
Curvature of the Earth?
Curvature of the Earth, absolutely, because radio waves travel in a straight line and the Earth is curved.
Is it? I thought it was flat.
Wow, what a science teacher you must have been. What they didn't know, of course, was that there's a reflecting layer in the atmosphere, the ionosphere, which the radio waves bounce. They bounce
Amazing! Off. Also, if you said something loud enough, wouldn't the Earth turn and then people would all hear it eventually?
Yes, that's right, because sound travels forward.
It's a good question. I remember being in a revolving restaurant with my cousin.
You just said it's a good question to your own question.
Yeah. I'll tell you why. I was in a revolving restaurant in Sydney with my cousin, and she put her handbag down, and it didn't turn up again for 40 minutes.
You're right. Sound is just like that. Right, let's start with a really riveting question. Who is this woman and what can she do?
She looks like my primary school teacher.
She's beautiful.
Does the audience know who it is?
Rosie
Minus points already.
I know. It's a common misconception. So she was a poster girl, apparently, for women's contribution to the war effort in the Second World War. That's what it is commonly thought. The poster does date, in fact, from 1943, but it was actually used only for 10 days in the American Westinghouse factories. But it was part of a series of 42 posters, and the idea was to halt union activity. It was to prevent strike action. Then what happened was the poster was rediscovered in the 1980s and it was given a sort of new lease of life. The real Rosie the Riveter is based on somebody that you might have heard of. So that is the real Rosie the Riveter. Who do you think it looks like?
Is it Roseanne Barr?
I think it looks like Joe Brand.
Joe Brand.
Do you not think?
Yeah.
But it is based on somebody famous. It's painted by Norman Rockwell, and he based it on the prophet Isaiah from Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel. I know. You wouldn't think it.
That's rather cool, isn't it?
I know, it's absolutely marvellous.
So when you say we might recognise him because it's someone we know...
No, I said it was based on somebody famous. So
how famous is he?
Isaiah?
Isaiah?
Yeah.
I reckon they'd book him for this show.
Yeah. So Rosie is eating a ham sandwich. You can't quite see it in this picture, but her foot is crushing a copy of Mein Kampf. It was actually based on a 19-year-old telephone operator called Mary Doyle Keefe. She was paid $10, and she wasn't a riveter at all. But the image of actual Rosie the Riveter fell out of use due to copyright restrictions, and the gap in the market was sort of filled by the We Can Do It version that we saw earlier. The real name, Rosie the Riveter, came from a song, and we think we can have a listen to it.
Keeps a sharp lookout for sabotage, sitting up there on the fuselage. That little frail can do more than a man can do. Rosie, the Riveter, Rosie.
I love that. That little frail can do more than a male. Makes you feel good about yourself, doesn't it? On the subject of QI panellist resemblances, I said how much I thought that poster looked like Joe Brand. In July 2018, there's a Twitter user called Sam Jordan, and he tweeted the following. Going through some old photos, a welcome surprise. Is in fact Alan Davis.
Wow.
Can you stand up next to it, Alan?
Yeah.
Let's have a look.
Well, I think she's gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank you for watching. From one rude man to another, whose genitals are 7 feet longer than they used to be?
Don't know where they found that picture. Are we talking specifically male genitals?
We are, darling.
Okay.
We're talking about a penis that's 7 foot longer
The
than
man
it
in the
used to
back row put his hand up.
be. Did you put your hand up, darling? Do you know what it is?
No, I just wanted to brag.
You have a second. Put your phone number on there. You do not have a 7-foot-long Billy.
That's amazing.
No wonder we had to sit you at the back.
Is that your girlfriend you've sat beside?
His girlfriend's 6 rows in front.
It's not how big it is, it's what you do with it.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not what you do with it.
It's that you do it in Yorkshire.
It's that you do it in bloody Yorkshire. I use it to dib me vegetables.
Is it to do with, like, a medical condition?
No, it is to do with a piece of art. It is carved into a hillside.
Oh, it's the rude man of Cern.
It is the Cern Abbas Giant, or the Old Man of Cern. It is indeed known as the Rude Man of Cern. Oh. So he's a 200-foot tall chalk carving in Dorset. Have you ever seen this?
Yes,
Have you seen this?
I have.
Has a notably large... Well, he's well endowed, let's just put it that way. But he wasn't always this well endowed. So initially, his proud member was just 16 foot long. Now, you would think that's quite big, but however, if you think about scale, so if you imagine a 6-foot man has a 6-inch penis, he's 200 foot, you would imagine him to have a 200-inch penis, which is about 16 foot long.
Right.
But sometime around 1908, for reasons we don't know why, they merged his penis with his belly button and gave him an extra 7 foot.
You know what's weird? When I look at that, I see a shy little girl with pigtails licking a lollipop. Does anyone else see that? A little bun on her head. Like, there's
now you say that.
Like, there she is, having a lovely time. Go, I love my lollipop.
Yeah.
Like,
Then she's got, like, Pippi Longstocking hair.
yeah, and then she's just got a little bun on her head.
Yeah. Maybe we've misinterpreted this for years. So we don't know how old it is. There was a survey of land in the area in 1617, no mention of him at all. Either wasn't there or it had been overgrown, I don't know. By the 1760s, we start to get references to him. So certainly there's a 1764 edition of the Gentleman's Magazine, and that's got a drawing in it, including measurements when he had the smaller
Are you sure it wasn't the ladies' magazine?
Ladies couldn't read at that time. Don't really know why he's there. It's possible that it was a parody of Cromwell and dates from the Civil War, that people were taking the mickey out of Cromwell. It was a wonderful campaign in 1921. There was a Mr. Long from Gillingham in Dorset, and he hated this thing, and he had a campaign that the giant's genitals should be hidden with a huge fig leaf. Speaking of rabbits, let's go back to the moon. Can you name a star that is the same size as the new moon?
A star that is the same
size as the new moon? It's a slightly trick question.
Yes, well, the stars are massive.
OK. At the time of recording, the planet Earth has acquired a new moon. It's a tiny asteroid, which we think has been circling the Earth for about 3 years. It's known as 2020 CD3, and it's somewhere between 1.9 metres and 3.5 metres in diameter, so it's about the same size as Richard Osman. this
object in...
That's our star. That's our star that I was
Good idea for what to do with it.
You see, a star that is the same size as the new moon. Has this not made kind of space news, this...
Well, I think one of the challenges, what do you define as a moon?
Ah, OK. We've had lots of things on this show when we...
Oh, we've had so many moons on us.
How many moons, right, how many moons would you say the Earth has? And we have variously said there are 2, which include Cruinia, a co-orbital body of the Sun.
I can remember Rich Hall sitting in that very chair saying,
it's called the moon!
We've had many moons as an answer because of the small asteroids, and we've had no moons at all because, in fact, the moon and the Earth are twin planets.
Yeah, because the moon is so large, it could be sort of like a binary system, not actually sort of seen as a separate...
Right, so what would you say? If you were to ask the question, how many moons would you say the Earth has? What would your answer be?
As a self-certified lunatic, I'll say there's only one moon. And it's the best.
Boom!
Yeah. I'm with that. Don't you vote for that? What do you think, Ed?
Yeah, one moon.
Yeah, we don't want to wipe about.
I know.
One moon.
You can call anything a moon, because there's no sort of a cut-off on the size of a moon. As astronomers, we're a bit mamby-pamby, really. We only recently defined planets. I mean...
Yes, because poor Pluto lost out.
Yes, well, see, that's it.
Yeah.
So Pluto was a planet for ages, and then, oh, no, sorry, mate. It was a dwarf planet.
Yeah.
Is that because it's just gases?
No, it's actually a solid rock.
Oh, but it's not big enough.
It's actually smaller than our moon.
Oh, really?
Yes.
It's probably the size of Wales. That's what people say, isn't
Yeah,
it?
everything's the size of Wales.
Yeah.
Especially Wales.
So there's a suggestion from the elves, which I think you'll like, Alan, that you get 20 restorative points to make up for all the previous moon questions that you've suffered. Does that, now we've had an expert tell us, there's just the one.
Well, as an opening offer, I'd
Yeah.
like to go back and...
Oh, right.
more.
Right, thanks to Maggie, we finally know how many moons the Earth has, at least till we move the goalposts again. Tell me something that is truly random.
Ooh.
I mean, worth it just for that.
Just for that.
Yeah.
Elections, unless you're in Central Africa.
Or Russia or the United States.
United States.
I mean, I think, you know, it's a pretty general thing now.
Exactly.
I like to think Africa led the way.
We led the way. We inspired you.
Yes.
Now everybody's the biggest.
Yes.
If you put your finger in your ear and scratch, you get the sound from Pac-Man.
What?
Do you?
At this moment, 705 people are doing this.
That is absolutely right. I can hear it.
Yeah, I'm glad to have it confirmed by musical maestro Bill Bailey.
No, it is absolutely... No, I can confirm that is musically correct. That's presumably how they came up with the sound in the first place. Somebody bored at gamer going, oh, hang on a minute, I've gone to something here.
That's fantastic. Extra point for Sally there. But the question is really about random playlists. So, you know, for example, on Spotify, you can have shuffle or random, can't you? So the thing is that people thought that the random function didn't shuffle the songs randomly enough. And it turns out the system was entirely random, but we can't process that because our brains look for patterns. And so what happens is if we hear a song 3 times in a row, which could happen if the song list was entirely random, we feel that some are being played more than others, some are being ignored, some possibly being blacklisted. And so they had to change the algorithm to make it seem
more random
than it actually was.
I just thought of something that's random, and that's birdsong.
Is that entirely random?
It's stochastic.
OK.
And what... You see, that's just the sort of attitude which we've tried to stamp out on this show. Ooh, get you with your knowledge.
No, I think he's being stochastic.
No, I'm being stochastic.
Bird songs, it was stochastic.
Yes.
That was a curlew being sarcastic.
Yeah, see?
Not sarcastic.
No.
Anyway, I forgot what I was going to say now. Oh, yeah.
Bird
Stochastic.
Something amazing from Stoke.
Stoke, yes. That is stochastic.
Presumably, darling, they
Not
have a
Robbie Williams. What?
set number of sounds that they can make.
No, the thing is that it's one of the reasons why birdsong is so relaxing, because it's slightly random. It's like if we listen to repetitive beats, eventually it gets on your nerves, or a drill or something. It's just exactly the same every time. Da, 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 da. But birdsong, it varies ever so slightly, just slightly enough, so that we love it. My favourite bird, obviously, is the great tit. Not just for the...
I mean, I'm with you, Bill.
Not just for the reasons, those base reasons.
I like the cock.
I know the cock, yes, the cock, the big... How have we gone down the road of innuendo so soon? Soon in the great...
All the birds in the world, and it's a great hit.
Listen, it imitates the alarm calls of other birds, right? It's brilliant. So when it goes to the feeder in your garden, it goes and does the alarm call, and all the birds go, oh, and they all leg it, and the great goes, ha ha, and just eats all the food.
I want a bird on my feeder that goes, ha ha.
Yeah.
The National Lottery, what do we reckon? Random or not random?
Got to be random, surely.
Yeah, no, it's totally random. So what's the sensible technique? If you're going to play the lottery, lots of people do.
Buy lots and lots and lots of tickets.
Just buy them all.
Buy them all.
Yeah.
Buy them all.
Buy them all. Yes. No, you need to play the numbers that nobody else does. It doesn't mean you're more likely to win. It just means you're less likely to share the prize. So people tend to play numbers with their birthday in. So anything over 31 is a very good idea. People, weirdly, 7 still regarded as a lucky number, so don't play things with 7 in. Don't play last week's numbers. Apparently, the Germans had the time to do a study, and they found 12,000 people who were playing last week's numbers. I mean, I don't mind the Germans particularly. I'm not having a go in any way at the Germans.
Sounds like
Don't get me started.
Thank you for watching. Home to the world's oldest working model railway. It was first built in 1912, but what was the point?
Was it so a 10-year-old Rod Stewart had something to play with on his birthday?
There is an astonishing railway that Rod Stewart has built. This, which looks like a proper railway station with all the buildings, this is Rod Stewart's model railway. And he has been working on it for 26 years. He's handcrafted all the buildings. And when he's on tour, he has a special room set aside where he can build his railway.
Isn't it funny that someone who puts out so much sexuality can destroy it all with something so...
I also, it's good for the lady there with the road sign expert to know things could be worse.
So I absolutely love model railways, and I have a little train that runs around the skirting boards in my office. But after I saw Rod Stewart's, I realised that mine needs a little bit of work. So this is Rod's, this is mine.
I love that. That's amazing. So does it go right the way around your room?
Yeah, around on the skirting boards. I want to get a bridge at the door that'll open and close like that.
A bridge at the door?
Yeah, so that you could open the door and the bridge would go up like that.
You wouldn't have to have signs 20 metres before you get to the
Yeah.
thing saying truck approaching, you
Exactly
know, no
that.
offence.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
What about if you had a colossus with a swinging dick opening and shutting?
So let's go back to this particular railway, built in 1912.
Were they making a plan, designing something?
It is certainly to do with the plan. It was in use until 1995.
Was it a training device?
It was a training device. So at the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railways signalling school at Victoria Station in Manchester, they used a model railway because you do not want to practice your signalling on an actual railway.
No, you wouldn't want to get the mistake there.
Did they have a model buffet car where they could practice saying no more cheese toasties after Milton Keynes? Or did
You know what I miss? I miss British Rail fruitcake. That was nice.
What about the pre-buttered malted loaf?
Malted
That's
loaf.
a bit of a divider. Do you have an opinion about those?
I don't know what you're talking about. What's the...
You know the serene malted loaf?
It's a malted loaf. If you bought it, would still be good to eat in 50 years. So model trains are still used to train railway stuff. So TfL have a place called Ashfield House in Kensington, and the tube staff use
Are
model
stupid. Look at them.
In the way.
It's behind you!
How to use the platform. What am I doing wrong here?
It's a mock-up of a tube station. It's called West Ashfield. It's on the 3rd floor. Complete with tracks and signals and barriers and a train and so on. And they train 1,500 to 2,000 drivers and operational staff there every year. The very first model railway was built in 1859. It was built for the 3-year-old son of Emperor Napoleon III. Lamond reported. I should do this in French.
Oh, please do.
Sandy, take us on another journey.
Oui, oui, oui. Oh la la.
Oh la la, the railway, built for the amusement of the Prince Imperial, is a real toy, as well as a masterpiece of mechanical science. Its track is in the shape of the figurette. So we've each got a bowl here of beetroot soup. So what I want you to do is I want you to demonstrate, please, how to eat this bowl of beetroot soup without getting your ruff all red. Ooh. Just did very well. Oh! Sorry, I think you've definitely nailed it. I think that is the... Whoa!
I bought one of those lazy boy sofas.
Yeah.
And I can eat
anything.
Completely horizontal.
OK, well, they didn't have those sofas in Elizabethan times. What they did have, in fact, was a spoon specifically for eating... You're just going to drink them. Do you like beetroot soup?
It's very nice.
I love all soup.
Yeah, but be careful with beetroot, because in the morning you'll think you need a colonoscopy.
Oh, yes.
It's a terrible thing. See if that's any easier. This is a rough spoon.
There's more wobble with a longer spoon.
Oh, do you not like the long spoon?
I find it more difficult.
Yeah.
And what about if you fed each other? Would that be easier?
Oh, yes.
like-
Oh, yes.
I don't know if that would be easier.
This is
Oh, I think that's rather beautiful. I think, yes. Yeah, I think that's rather lovely.
Lady in the trunk.
Oh, no! It's gone all down Susan's ruff.
Oh, Susan, I'm sorry.
Tom!
The sight of you slurping that was so disgusting. I kind of dropped the spoon.
So they were ubiquitous in high society. Oh, Susan.
Susan, I'm sorry.
We're talking 1560s to 1620s, but everybody wore them. Women, men, young people, old people.
Dogs.
Dogs still do in a funny sort of way, don't they?
The big cone.
Yeah.
Throw a biscuit in the cone, drives them mad.
Trust me.
They will not rest. They will not rest.
No. I saw a dog walking down the seafront the other day in one of those massive cones, and it was a really, really windy day, but he was walking with the wind at his tail, and he was going along quite happily. I thought, yeah, but wait till you turn round, mate.
So the biggest ones were worn by Elizabeth I because, frankly, nobody else had the money to...
How big? How big did she go? Oh, look.
Wow. They were enormous. So you have to imagine it's up to 7 yards of cloth. So imagine at least between Susan and Zoe, that kind of length of cloth. 600 pleats and soaked in starch. So unbelievably difficult to wear. You did it with something called a goffring iron. And this is what it looked like.
Wabang!
Yeah.
Wow.
And now I'm afraid I'll have to railroad you onto the road to ruin that we call general ignorance. Fingers on buzzers, please. Have you got your bell? What is the most expensive metal on Earth? Yes.
I didn't mean to do that. It just went off. The most expensive?
Yes, most expensive metal on Earth.
I don't know.
I'm going to give 5 points for absolute honesty. It's one of the noble metals. It is incredibly expensive because it is both useful and rare.
Foil.
Yes, foil is a noble metal. Rhodium is the answer. So, for example, gold at the moment costs about $50,000 a kilo. Platinum is about $27,000 a kilo. This costs $350,000.
That sounds like something that a rapper would get his teeth done in.
In rhodium, yeah. I mean, whether you could or not, I don't know. There's hardly any of it mined in the world. It's so expensive.
What's it used in? Or
catalytic converters. About 80% of all rhodium is used in catalytic converters. The amount you'd have in a car, it's the same weight as about a quarter of what a postage stamp weighs, but it adds £70 to the price of your
So rather
car.
than nicking a car, all I need to do is prise it open,
And
go
get the
through
rhodium
it and
out.
get the rhodium out.
That's what people do.
Yeah.
I had
Do
mine
they?
stolen.
What,
just for the rhodium?
The catalytic converter out of the car. They pull up with a power tool, you go underneath it, cut it off, and they've gone in 2 minutes.
Yeah. And you're just driving along.
You're not in the car, you've parked it, gone about your business, and when you come back, your car's going...
Are they going to start making them into, like, rings for weddings and stuff like that?
Well, yes, darling, because it is in jewellery, so it's used especially as a plate for white gold. It can give that sort of reflective surface, so it is used in that. It's also used in heart pacemakers.
They get nicked all the time.
What would you have to do if someone read you the Riot Act?
It's an actual thing. They would go to the scene and read the Riot Act.
They literally read it out. Technically, you had an hour to disperse
Right.
once it had been read out. So it was introduced in 1715.
To clear crowds.
To clear the crowds out. These are the actual words of the Riot Act. And it meant that if more than 12 people gathered and were disruptive, a policeman was entitled to read them the Riot Act. And it had to be read with the exact correct wording. And after that, they had a full hour. You've got an hour now to stop rioting, which I quite like. It's very British, isn't it? I'm giving you notice, and then you'll be on the naughty step. We don't have it anymore. It was repealed by the Criminal Law Act of 1967. In fact, the last attempted reading of the Riot Act was in, have a guess, anybody? Which city in this country?
Manchester.
Glasgow.
Oh.
1919, but the policeman couldn't get through it before somebody took the page from his hand.
Sorry, Sandy. Everyone just stop. Was that a Scottish accent you just...
No, it was an Irishman visiting.
To be fair, I respect the law as much as the next person.
Yes.
If I had decided I was going to make the positive action of rioting and someone stood in front of me and said, here's a piece of paper about why you can't riot, you would just go, well, I'm taking that piece of paper. I'm a rioter, wouldn't you? I mean, and I don't think that's particularly Glasgow. If I may, Alan.
Order in the court.
If they don't disperse, they don't just go, oh, they haven't.
Yeah. Oh.
They...
What I was going to say...
He's right. You
was
could use
contrary
lethal force.
to sometimes, occasionally, when you said, and I knew you were going to say Glasgow because you looked at me with that look, you look at Sandra, you look at me sometimes and go,
Sandra.
there's a Scottish thing coming up. Just because it was Glasgow does not mean that they were violent in
No, I
removing
didn't
the
say that.
paper.
I never
They
said
simply
that.
politely went, I'll take that from you, young sir.
Yes.
I imagine. Said, excuse me, officer, can I take that?
I'll take that. Would you like a mint?
Exactly. So I don't want there to be any suggestion that the Glasgowans
nobody was
were
suggesting.
aggressive.
But
excuse me.
Nowadays, you don't have to read anything out at all. If 12 people or more are present and they cause any kind of violence, then...
It's quite challenging for middle-class people to start riots, as I've discovered.
Well, you've got to wait in. You've got to wait in for your white company order. I mean... It's an awful lot to do.
Yeah. In Paris, when I was trying to take part in the 1968 riots, we didn't know what to do. And, well, no, we didn't, because we were nice university people. We'd gone over to help with the rioting.
And they were instructing in French.
Well, I was studying the French Revolution, so my French was reasonably OK. And they advised us what we were to do.
Yeah.
And it was to knock the policeman's hat off. And apparently, knocking hats off goes back hundreds of years as the way riots are started.
I think, to be fair, if I had gone to the effort of wearing one of my hats, of which I have many, because I believe a lady with a hat is a very astonishing figure.
Is it made of corduroy?
List of impediments to you getting shagged goes on.
It's not good, is it?
I suit a hat. Like I suit a hat, and sometimes you think, it's a hat day. I feel like wearing a hat. I'm going to wear a cowboy hat. I'm going to wear a top hat. I'm going to wear a bowler hat. And you're walking down the street, you're thinking people are laughing at me. But I don't care. In myself, I have the confidence. I've worked on myself a lot. This is how I feel. I feel confident. I'm a powerful woman. I'm Claire Balding.
People looking for...
I'm there.
People go, how's that
And then
cowboy hat
somebody-
moving by itself? How's it getting down the street? There must be a dog under there, a tiny dog. That dog's never going to get shagged wearing that.
So this is the Rough and Ready show. But what's red and roughy?
Oh.
Hello. Who's allowed that photograph to be taken of themselves?
Mine.
Can I tell you something in an incomprehensible accent?
Well, why ask now?
When I did Strictly Come Dancing, the one thing that I had to do, and I wasn't told to do it, but someone said to me, you know, they film it in 4K. And I was like, all right, and you wear a leotard. And I thought, got it. What they were saying was, please do something. Because the first time I got the fitting, I was wearing shorts. And so I had to go for the very first time at the age of 43 for a bikini wax. And it was the most terrifying thing that's ever happened in my entire life. It really was. It was exposing and strange, and afterwards I was so cold.
To be fair, Susan, if somebody suggested you have a wax if you're wearing shorts... These are going to get shorter, babe, and I think... Unless we are transporting triantulas, I think...
Isn't it one of those things that when you've been married for 17 years and you just kind of stop caring because neither of you are going to find anyone else, so you just kind of let it all kind of join up?
Well, it's also knowing what's in vogue if you haven't been on the market for a while, isn't it? Because, you know, I've been with my partner for 20+ years, and back then it was plaits and beads. And so, sort of Willie Nelson, if you will.
Did you... OK. The question was, what's red and roughy? And it has nothing to do with these pants at all.
Was like a roughy like a dog? Is it a red setter?
It is not, no, but we are heading in more of the right direction. We're heading into the in the animal kingdom.
I know about a red panda.
OK, no, so it's fish, right? It's fish.
Red snapper.
No, it's called the orange roughy.
That's not red, then.
Well, it is actually red. It's weirdly...
These questions are shit. What's red and roughy? Nothing at all.
The smooth orange fish.
The orange roughy is the answer.
How about if the question had been, tell us about your pubes?
Let's do 15 minutes on your pubic hair. Go.
This fish caught on in American restaurants after 1979 when they changed its name to orange roughy. Do you have any idea why they might have changed its name?
Because all the other fish were also called Dave.
No, its original name was slimehead.
Well.
Yeah, it's about 30 inches long. It's a member of the perch family.
30 inches?
How big's 30 inches?
2.5 feet.
Yeah. That is a very big fish. And they're extremely long-lived. I mean, assuming that they don't get eaten. The average lifespan is more than 120 years.
No way.
There were two caught recently near Tasmania and one off New Zealand. Turned out to be, we think, about 250 years old, meaning they were born in the late 1700s, so at the same time as the first Europeans arrived in the area as the age of these fish.
How do they age a fish, Sandy? What do you do?
You cut through it and you count the rings.
You're very nearly right. So fish have something called an otolith, so we all have otoliths. We have one in our ear system which enables us to basically stay balanced. But in fish, they're layers of calcium carbonate and they grow over the years. So we can tell how old the fish is by counting the rings in the otolith. It looks a little bit like an onion. It's just a bit like tree rings you can count.
That is amazing.
It's amazing. Well, this is the really sad thing, because if you eat an orange roughy in a restaurant, there is a likelihood that your lunch is older than your grandparents.
Well, you should eat the older thing first. Yeah. If you've got 2 pots of hummus, you'll eat the one that's...
What's so un-British about a roundabout? Yes, darling.
It's French.
Yes.
Ah. You will not be surprised to know that is a family story.
Yes, Charles.
One of my forebears was married to the Emperor Napoleon III of France. Okay? The Emperor Napoleon III of France, in exile, lived in Southport. And this is true. And when he got back to Paris, when he was restored to become the head of, become Napoleon III again, he decided that Paris needed to be redesigned and chose a man called Haussmann to do it.
Yes, from whom we get Boulevard Haussmann and all those wonderful boulevards in Paris.
And he said, the design I would like is, I've been in England in a place called Southport, and I would like it to look like Southport with these wide boulevards and these big circles. And that is why Paris looks like Southport.
Yes, but the actual roundabout was the invention of a French town planner who was called Eugénie Hénard at the turn of the 20th century.
Haussmann had lots of people working for him, and...
Sorry, earlier, before the start of the show, Giles told me that my key card for my dressing room would also work on the tube. Is that true?
I mean, so Haussmann did do a marvellous job in making the big boulevards, but the actual, what's called a carrefour giratoire, the roundabout, was a French town planner who otherwise is, I think, not really known. And so in 1907, British researchers were sent to observe it, and they copied it, and they installed the very first... Yes, darling?
You're going to find this almost impossible to believe. My father, this is getting really close now.
Yes.
My father was the legal advisor to the Automobile Association.
Right.
And a friend of Ernest Marples, who was the transport minister in the 1950s or 60s. My father went with Ernest Marples to help him open Britain's first roundabout in Letchworth, Newtown.
You are absolutely right.
Thank you. Thank you. Two.
I totally love this. Good. So there's the Arc de Triomphe, which inspired Letchworth's...
Can you see the red car?